We are just going to have a conversation about the learning state and what it can mean in education. Andrea, please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Andrea. I've got a background of 16 years teaching in primary schools and with children with social emotional behaviour difficulties. I've then spent 10 years in children's services, supporting some of our most challenged families. And now I'm back in education as a partnership officer for a local authority. So I'm really excited about how we can use the NLP tools in our classrooms to really impact and empower our teachers and our students to be the best they can be, really.
Thank you so much, Andrea. And my name's Sue Haswell. I'm an NLP master practitioner. I'm an NLP trainer. I'm also a laughter yoga teacher. And my background goes back to corporate PR and communications when I was working in large businesses, supporting them to get their messages heard and to deal with crisis communications. And that's where I found NLP, and I've used it in supporting them, getting messages across, and also now in training. I do a lot of training using so many, if not all, of the NLP tools that are available. And I'm just delighted to be here and having this chat with you, Andrea. So the learning state, what challenges are there for learners and educators that the learning state might help with?
I think nowadays what we're hearing from our schools is that our children are coming into our classrooms with a lot more complex needs and with a lot more concerns. So they're carrying a lot around in their heads. So we talk about, when I was a teacher, it would be the windy classroom days. So you'd get your reception class coming in after a windy day and be like, I'm going to spend the next 3 hours trying to calm them down from that. Nowadays, you've got children who are coming in from all ages whose minds are just full of other stuff. So it might be, concerns or worries about home, friendships, it could be social media. For our teenagers in particular, it can be anxieties. Well, for all ages now, we're hearing a lot about school-based anxiety. We're hearing a lot about children comparing themselves, worrying about the lesson, worrying about the teacher, worrying about what they think of. We know ourselves that the teenage brain unravels, and so we don't know when they're coming to our lesson, we don't know whether they're coming, what kind of state they're coming in. So we don't know what's gone on for them. We don't know what they've seen on the phones. We don't know what's happened in the corridor. We don't know what's happened in the previous lesson. And we just expect them to come into the lesson. You do, as a teacher, you do so much preparation and planning for those lessons. And you yourself are under pressure to reach targets, to perform, to get your children to a certain level. What we don't do is we don't prepare in terms of the environment, in terms of the state and being ready to learn. We just expect these children to come in through our doors ready to learn. And I know that's putting it quite glibly. I know it's not as straightforward as that, and our teachers do a good job of supporting our children. But this tool for me is that next step, next level in really setting the learning environment up and ensuring that you've got that space, so the space to decompress and the space between lessons, and it's almost like walking through a threshold. So it's a fresh start for those children. They know when they come into your classroom, if you're doing this every lesson and every day, they know when they come into the classroom, that's the expectation. They know that they're going to be safe in your lesson, that you're going to give that time for them to get ready. And over time and over habit, it will just become second nature, that they will automatically not just relax, but become into their optimal learning state in your classroom, ready to learn. And you'll find that the time it takes you to establish this will get shorter and shorter. And just on another note, for our primary colleagues and our younger children, we expect them to move from one subject to another without actually moving in the classroom. We might move tables, but we're not moving environment. And we expect their brains to switch, so to automatic switch from English to maths. And I think setting the learning state up at the start of every lesson enables again that definition between the lessons for them to be able to switch their brain into, oh, we're doing something new now. And again, if they've had a tricky lesson before, it gives them that fresh start. It's like setting the refresh button on your computer when it's just frozen and it's not playing. So I just think the possibilities of this are endless. And I think also the beauty of NLP and the beauty of doing something like this is, whilst you're getting them in the learning state, you can't help but get yourself into the optimal teaching state. So all those things that you worried about achieving in that lesson, or that child you might be concerned about, or you're on high alert about another child's behaviour or attitude, it calms you down too. So you're the best teacher that you can be in that lesson. I just think it's such an easy tool, and it's got so much scope to make massive improvements.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Andrea. And I use the learning state with the training that I do with adults as well. So I deliver lots of training to professionals, and I find it so useful as a tool to settle people into the
Yeah.
space, and to just give them those moments of allowing and just letting that settling happen. And I'm dealing with adults who are there and they want to learn, and they've booked themselves on a training course, and they know what they want to get, and they know what they're going to achieve. With educators in teaching and education, quite often you're going to have massive classes, aren't you, with lots of people coming in from all sorts of different situations and different mindsets. So as a tool to just calm everything down, I can only imagine it'll be super useful. And as you say, that practice will be really, really valuable.
And I think the other side of it is it's not just about that relax, you get to that relaxed state, but then you get to that optimum learning state as well. So it's not just a case of let's make this a calm, happy classroom. It's like, let's make this a learning classroom and a safe environment to learn in.
Yes, absolutely. It's just a really wonderful, agile mind hack to get people calm, in a learning state, relaxed and ready for it. And I love that idea of the transition, so that whereas we used to be able to walk through a corridor into another, and actually if you're just going from one to there needs to be that space, doesn't there? So this provides all of that, and it provides that moment for the educator themselves to actually go, okay, now we're going to begin.
Yes.
So shall I just explain how it is, and then we'll do an actual demonstration?
Yes, brilliant.
Fantastic. Okay, so the learning state itself is about taking our attention into our peripheral vision. Quite often our vision is direct, and we're focused on things, and then we're also running all of this stuff going on in our minds, all of our inner dialogue and our inner everything else that's going on for us. We can't pay attention to so many things. I mean, we can take in consciously 7 plus or minus 2 elements of information. So when we've got loads of stuff going on internally, and then we've got focus on all of the stuff, and we may have stresses and things, actually we're not able to take in everything that's going on. So to allow ourselves to be more expansive in our thoughts, to settle down whatever's going on in terms of our inner dialogue, and to allow ourselves to take in everything, we need to switch to something called peripheral vision. So focus vision is, if you imagine focusing on one thing, that's very focus vision, if everyone's looking at the top of my finger, and peripheral vision is looking at a much broader scope. And then you can add to this by the whole settling into your chair, feeling, or standing up, but feeling yourself being supported, settling in and recognizing your breath. All of those things can bring you into the learning state in a way that is calming and allows the transition of your mind to go from wherever it was to where it is now. Andrea, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, other than
a cough.
But we are all human on this, and I think it's good as you teachers to know that we are all human. I think the thing is like, I'm a real overthinker, and again, you've got children coming in with that trauma, that stress, that what's going on in the background, and that it's just such a simple technique, and you can try it for yourselves as well. I think everyone on here, when you're looking at this video and when we take you through the actual technique, do it yourselves and practice just watching the video again and again to get it used to yourself, and you'll notice the difference. And again, even if you try this every day as you step into school and you're getting ready for that lesson, make this part of your morning routine for you, and then you'll have confidence. And it's not about getting it 100% right. It's like we've said, it's not about getting that technique 100% right. If you get the intention and the bones of it, everything else can become better. It's just about practice.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrea. So shall we pretend we're in a classroom and do this? Would that work? So what would be, Andrea, I haven't been in a classroom for many years, as you can probably tell from the wrinkles. What would be a focal point right at the front of a classroom? Would it be
To be fair, all classrooms are set up differently. So I think, like you did with the finger, I
okay,
think for a teacher to have an object or have a finger or to identify something in their own classroom that becomes the focal point that children can see. And I mean, it might be, I don't want to send any child cross-eyed, but would it be that they could look at their own finger?
absolutely, yeah, they could, couldn't they? Yeah, so you could look at your own finger, or you could take a point of I mean, you know, let's imagine that that's right at the front of your classroom. So just have a focus on the very bottom leaf. So as it's really weird trying to do this
Reverse.
in reverse. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, when I'm pointing in that direction, I am aiming to point at the very bottom leaf. So take your attention to that very bottom leaf as a point of attention. And when you look and take your vision to that very bottom leaf, just settle into the space that you're in. So I invite you to just study that bottom leaf, look at it intently, and also sense into the chair where you're sitting. Or maybe if you're standing, sense into the floor with your feet and just feel yourself being supported whilst watching that bottom leaf. And as you're there, feeling supported and watching that bottom leaf, keep your eyes on the bottom leaf. Just keep looking at it. And as you're doing that, take your vision and just allow an awareness of the background. Just allow your awareness of the full of the wall, really, of the whole expansiveness of the wall, whilst keeping your awareness on that leaf. So vision on the leaf, awareness broad. And you might at this point also wish to just pay attention to your breathing and your breath. So your eyes are focused on the leaf, your attention is on the whole of the wall, and you're also paying attention to your breath or your breathing, wherever that is for you, wherever you would consider your breath, whether that is the warm air entering your nostrils and the cooler air, or the cool air entering your nostrils and the warm air leaving, or whether it's that sensation of cool air hitting the back of your throat. Just pay attention to that. Eyes on the leaf, peripheral vision, awareness of the whole wall. Take a breath, allow yourself to settle, and bring your attention back to the room. That, Andrea, is how I would run a learning stage exercise. It's taken what, 3 minutes, if that? Most of which was me trying to point at the bottom leaf, to be fair. So
it's really interesting because I had to really concentrate on that leaf, and as it developed, I found my vision naturally going even wider and even wider. And I know before we started, we were obviously having a pre-conversation before we recorded this, and my focus was very much on the laptop in front of me. But now my focus is really out here. And I think the beauty of this, as a teacher in the age group that you're teaching, you will know the language and the terminology that you would like to use with your class. And of course, you've got to bring yourself to this. So you'll use phrases and that from you that your class are used to. So this is about the actual that narrow focus to that wider focus, and then bringing in that breathing, that like you said, feeling safe, feeling supported in that seat. I love that phrase, feeling supported, because that gives that you're safe here, you're safe in my classroom, you're safe with this. Now, again, we know children of children, there'll always be somebody who's distracted or finds it uncomfortable, and that's why we have to practice. You'll have, in your class, with particularly older children, you might have some resistance because they're a little bit self-conscious, but you will bring them in. The ones that really want to do it will do it straight away. And if you just keep doing it and keep that faith in it, you'll suddenly find that more, it'll ripple out to the class and more will want to do it. And again, I think as it becomes second nature, particularly for younger children, it's swapping that object. So choosing a different object. So one week you might focus on one particular object, you might swap that object up, because then the focusing on this, noticing different patterns, different sizes, different textures, whilst they're focusing really in on that one thing, and then allowing them out, and and pointing out to them at the end of, thinking about what you can see now in your peripheral vision, and saying what this means. And that means that your brain's open and expanded and you're ready to learn. And if you say those things to them, if you're explicit about it, they will believe that. So it's like, now you're ready to take in so much more of this lesson, and really giving them that confidence to believe in this, that this will really, help them to do that. And that's just how you set it up. And it is, I feel really quite energized. It's bizarre, because I thought with that sitting and the breathing, I thought, I'm going to be so relaxed. I actually feel really energized, and I can't believe how wide my vision has actually gone. So I'm looking forward to not having brain fog of being a lady of a certain age this afternoon. So thank you very much for that, Sue. And again, like you say, few minutes and you've completely changed the feel of the classroom.
It's one of those things, isn't it? Those few minutes practice, and creating practice and turning it into habit. When it becomes a habit, you've kitted out your learners with a tool for life. You've kitted out
Yes.
your learners with
Yeah.
something that they can use at any time, whether they're at home or whether they're at school, whether they're taking exams or whether they're about to do something that's kind of high pressure, or whether
For
they're just,
exams, like you're saying
oh,
there, focusing on a point in that exam room, and then letting themselves go outward, starting out with your breathing before they go in. What a lovely gift. And that's what I love about NLP, is you take these things with you. But to enable you to take them with you, you have to practice, practice, practice. A habit doesn't just happen. So it's that conscious practice, isn't it?
absolutely. And you can't unlearn something, you can't unknow something. So actually, there's such a benefit to getting this in as a practice for everything, for life, and for any challenging situations, which is what school's all about, isn't it?
Yeah,
Getting everyone prepared and ready. So thank you so much, Andrea.
that's been brilliant. Thanks, Sue.